On the morning of my 70th birthday, he brought the other woman and their 3 grown children right onto our lawn in front of all our guests and said, "This is the family I've been building in secret for 28 years." Our daughters froze. Everyone waited for me to scream or cry. Instead, I just smiled politely, walked over to the gift table, picked up a slim leather folder, and said, "I already knew. This is for you." He opened it. Within 10 seconds, the color left his face and his knees almost buckled. Before we start, if you enjoy long, emotional revenge and justice stories like this, please hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments which country or city you're listening from right now. I read every single one. Let's begin. The air that morning smelled of lemon verbena from the herb garden and the first cut of fresh-mown grass. I woke at 5:47, like always, no alarm. The bedroom windows faced east over the rolling Virginia hills. Pale gold light was just touching the tops of the old boxwoods I planted the year we moved in. I love those first silent minutes when the house still belongs only to me. I made coffee the way I've made it for 47 years, pour over, medium roast, no sugar, and carried the mug to the sunroom. From there, I could see the whole back lawn sloping down to the pond, the white Adirondack chairs I painted last spring, the peony beds I divided by hand, the stone path I laid myself because the contractor kept cutting corners. This house wasn't just a home, it was the thing I built when the life I actually wanted got quietly dismantled piece by piece. 32 years ago, I was an industrial designer with a portfolio that had just caught the eye of a major furniture brand in Chicago. They offered me a lead on their new sustainable line, my name on the drawings, travel, real creative control. Then Richard came home one night with the plan: import exotic hardwoods, open a high-end custom mill workshop, we'll be set for life. We weren't liquid enough. I sold my half of my late mother's small stock portfolio, the nest egg meant for that Chicago chapter, and wrote him the check. The millwork business imploded in 19 months. Debts, liens, second mortgages, and me? I never left for Chicago. I stayed here and turned what should have been my career into this property. Every room, every garden bed, every hand-troweled plaster wall is mine in a way nothing else ever was. "Margaret, where's my navy tie, the one with the little anchors?" Richard's voice cut through the quiet from the hallway. He didn't look at me, didn't say happy birthday, didn't notice the linen napkins I'd pressed or the vase of early lilacs on the dining table. 47 years. To him, I had become scenery, useful, unchanging, part of the background like the grandfather clock that no longer chimed. "Top drawer, left side. I steamed it yesterday." He grunted and disappeared. I sipped my coffee and watched a pair of cardinals dart between the dogwoods. There was no sting anymore, only a very clear, very still lake inside my chest. The phone rang at 8:12. Our oldest, Claire. "Mom, happy birthday. Look, we're running late out of Richmond. Accident on 64. Can you put the trays out early? And make sure Dad doesn't start on the bourbon before we get there. You know how he gets." Her tone was clipped, distracted, the way you speak to staff, not your mother on her milestone. "Everything's under control, sweetheart. Drive safe." I hung up. No tightness in my throat, just transparency. By 4 o'clock, the lawn was full. Cousins from Roanoke, old college friends, Richard's golf buddies and their wives, the neighbors who still remembered when this was just pasture. They brought bottles of Pinot Grigio and store-bought charcuterie and told me how beautiful the garden looked, how lucky Richard was. I smiled, refilled lemonade glasses, accepted cheek kisses. I played perfect wife, the way I'd rehearsed it since 1978. Richard worked the crowd like always, loud laugh, firm handshakes, stories about the big restoration contract he was chasing. He kept saying, "our place, our pond, our view." No one corrected him. No one knew the deed, the revocable trust, the brokerage accounts, and the life insurance beneficiary designations had all been quietly transferred into my name alone starting 11 years ago, my father's last clear-headed instruction before the dementia took him. Keep something that's only yours, Margaret, always. Our younger daughter, Lydia, arrived last. She hugged me hard, held on longer than anyone else, looked straight into my eyes and whispered, "You okay today, Mom?" "I'm fine, love." She didn't believe me, but she nodded. Lydia had always seen more than the rest of them. Then the moment came. Richard tapped his glass with a spoon, waited for quiet. Guests turned, expectant. He stood in the middle of the lawn in his best blazer, still tall at 74, silver hair swept back, the picture of Southern confidence. "Family, friends," he began, voice carrying over the water. "Today we celebrate my beautiful wife Margaret, 70 years young, my rock for nearly 5 decades. He looked at me. His eyes held only satisfaction, the look of a man who has already won. "But I've decided it's time to stop hiding, time to bring everything into the light." A ripple of confusion. I felt Lydia's fingers find mine. He raised a hand toward the side gate. A woman stepped through, mid-50s, expensive highlights, expensive teeth, the kind of face that has never had to apologize. Behind her, 3 adults in their 20s, 2 sons and a daughter, all with Richard's jawline and wary expressions. Richard walked over, put his arm around the woman's waist, brought her and the children to stand right beside me, close enough I could smell her jasmine perfume over the cut grass. "Margaret has been the perfect foundation," he said, looking past me at the crowd. "So solid I could build 2 complete lives on it. This is Vanessa, my real partner of 28 years, and our children, Ethan, Noah, and Brooke. It's time my success, my legacy, included all of us." He physically repositioned Vanessa next to me like we were posing for a Christmas card. The lawn went deathly quiet. Claire made a small, wounded sound. Lydia's grip turned painful. In that suspended second, I didn't feel the world drop away. I felt a single, clean, metallic click, like the last tumbler in a very old safe finally falling into place. I turned my head slowly and gave the same small hostess smile I use for late-arriving dinner guests. I let my eyes move across every face, neighbor, cousin, friend, letting them see that I saw them, that I was present, that I was not dissolving. Then I looked back at Richard. He was still beaming, waiting for the explosion, the tears, the scene he could heroically manage. I walked to the small wrought iron table where I'd placed one item that morning, a thin black leather folder, no ribbon, no bow, just clean, serious lines. I'd chosen it 8 months earlier, the day after I found the safe deposit key taped under his desk drawer. I picked it up, almost weightless, and returned to him. "Richard," I said. My voice came out calm, perhaps a half-tone lower than usual. "I've known for a while. This is for you." He blinked. The script had jammed. He let go of Vanessa and took the folder automatically. Our fingers didn't touch. He flipped it open. Inside, a single brass key, the new one for the front door, and 3 sheets of heavy bond paper. He scanned the top page, then the second. His eyes jerked back and forth. I watched the fine tremor start in his left thumb, then travel up his forearm. The cover letter was short, my attorney's letterhead. "Notice of filing for dissolution of marriage on grounds of long-term adultery. Sole titled ownership of marital residence confirmed. Immediate freeze of all jointly reported accounts pending equitable distribution hearing. Restraining order prohibiting contact or entry to property at address." His right hand began shaking too. The pages rustled like dry leaves. He looked up at me, really looked, searching for the old Margaret who always softened, always forgave, always made things easier. That woman no longer lived here. Vanessa leaned in, trying to read over her shoulder. "What is it? Richard?" He couldn't speak. Only a dry croak came out. I held his gaze another second, then turned to Lydia. "Sweetheart," I said quietly, "let's go inside." She didn't hesitate, her arm hooked through mine like steel. We walked, not rushed, not fleeing, straight through the parting crowd toward the house. Whispers followed like wind through dry grass. Behind us, Richard finally found his voice. "Margaret!" It sounded small against the pond. We didn't stop. Inside the kitchen, I paused, turned back toward the open French doors, and spoke loud enough to carry. "Thank you all so much for coming today. Unfortunately, the celebration is over. Please help yourselves to the rest of the food and feel free to take a plate home. Good night." No drama, no explanation, just a polite end. Within 15 minutes, engines started, cars backed down the drive. No one knocked to say goodbye. No one met my eyes through the windows. When the last tail light disappeared, Lydia came and wrapped both arms around me from behind. "It's okay, Mom." "I know, baby. Help me clear the tables." We worked in the soft lamplight, stacking plates, folding linens, rinsing crystal. The ordinary motions were medicine. I washed the wine glasses we got for our first anniversary. The water carried away lipstick prints that weren't mine. When we finished, the house was ours again, quiet, breathing. I brewed chamomile. We sat on the screened porch under a wool throw and listened to frogs and crickets. My phone lit up. Richard. Call dropped. Voicemail. Lydia's jaw was tight. "He still thinks he can order you around." I took a slow sip. The tea was warm, sweet. "He hasn't understood yet," I said. "He thinks this is a tantrum, that I'll wake up tomorrow and fix it. He doesn't see the paperwork, the timelines, the years I spent making sure I could walk away clean." I set the mug down. "Tomorrow at 9, we meet my attorney. I'd like you there." She nodded once, sharp. That night, I slept without dreams for the first time in months. The drive to Charlottesville the next morning was wordless. Lydia drove, her hands steady on the wheel, eyes on the winding country road. I stared out at the passing orchards and split-rail fences, but I saw only his face, triumphant, then crumbling. He thought this was a mistake, something he could talk his way out of like a bad deal at the club. He didn't know yesterday was the end point of a path I'd been carving for 8 months. Attorney Harlan West's office was in a converted Victorian on Main Street, dark wood paneling, the faint smell of pipe tobacco and leather-bound law books. Harlan, mid-60s with a no-nonsense gaze, had been my father's poker buddy. Trust came with the territory. He greeted us at the door, led us to the conference table, offered tea we refused. "Margaret," he started, tone measured. "As discussed, the filings are in motion. Assets frozen, notices served. Has Richard or his side reached out?" "A voicemail," I said evenly. "Accusations, demands to reverse it all." Harlan nodded, as if checking off a list. "Expected. He's still in denial mode. That'll change." He laced his fingers. His expression turned grave. "We initiated the standard protocols, but given your family's history with my firm, I took the liberty of a thorough background sweep. Precautionary. Unfortunately, it uncovered more." He slid a plain manila folder across the table. No label. "This isn't just betrayal, Margaret. This is targeted undermining." Lydia leaned forward, her hand on my knee. I didn't move. I just looked at the folder. "What is it?" He opened it, pushed the top document toward me. A copy of a motion Richard submitted last month to the county probate court, request for involuntary mental capacity evaluation. The room went still. Lydia inhaled sharply, but I fixed on the page, official seal, typed paragraphs, Richard's bold signature at the bottom. "Step 1, Harlan continued, voice flat, toward a conservatorship declaration. Gain legal control over you and every asset in your name." I lifted the sheet. The observations section. Frequently loses track of household items such as reading glasses or car keys, indicative of short-term memory impairment. I'd misplaced my specs 2 weeks ago. They'd been on the kitchen counter. We'd laughed. Exhibits confusion in routine tasks like mixing up ingredients in familiar recipes, potentially hazardous. Once, tired, I'd swapped flour for cornstarch and biscuits. Richard had teased, "Getting adventurous, are we?" Not teasing, evidence gathering. Displays increasing withdrawal, spends excessive time alone in garden speaking aloud to flowers, possible signs of cognitive detachment from reality. My herb beds, my quiet mornings with the lemon verbena, my refuge, recast as delusion. Line by line, fragments of truth warped into indictment, blended with outright invention. Every slip, every weary moment, every breath of solitude flipped to prove my unraveling. My fingers on the cool tabletop remained still, but a chill spread from my nails inward like frost claiming a window pane. For an instant, the hum of Charlottesville outside, cars, voices, faded to white noise. In that void, understanding bloomed. This wasn't infidelity's sting. This was eradication. Not content to abandon for Vanessa, he aimed to nullify me. Rob not just house and savings, but agency, dignity. Confine me as a shadow while they claimed my foundations. The faint warmth I'd retained for old photos, shared Christmases, didn't fade. It crystallized into unyielding ice. I stacked the pages precisely, looked at Harlan, then Lydia's stricken face. "Thank you," I said, my voice unchanged, but edged with something irreversible. "The full picture. What's next?" Harlan acted with a scalpel's precision. While Lydia and I drove home, his team mobilized, notices flew across Virginia, bank alerts fired. The gears I'd oiled turned with one word from me. The initial hit landed on Richard at a roadside diner, no doubt plotting my surrender over eggs and coffee. A process server placed the envelope beside his plate. Divorce summons, plus temporary injunction barring approach or communication except via attorneys. Eviction from all my titled properties. I picture his sneer twisting to rage, pages balled and tossed, shouts of "half is mine by rights," delusion persisting. Then reality struck harder. They headed to our Richmond pied-à-terre, his crash pad for business trips. Plan, force entry, reclaim turf. Instead, his key scraped useless against new deadbolts. Fists on door, curses, silence answered. That entryway, my design choice decades back, now impenetrable. At home, the locksmith arrived, quiet, methodical. With drills and clicks, old mechanisms gave way to fresh ones on doors and gates. I stood in the sunroom, absorbing the sounds, each latch a verse in freedom's hymn. Not payback, purification, expunging contamination. The final thrust awaited in the diner's lot. As they fumed to their luxury sedan, my gift for his 70th, a repo truck rolled up, crew in high-vis vests, chained and winched. Richard charged, claiming title. Driver handed docs, reclamation by true owner. My signature, Margaret Ellis. Vanessa's poise shattered, I imagined. Penniless on blacktop, no plastic, no roof, no ride. Truth dawned. Frozen accounts, annoyance. Filings, scandal. Barred door, slap. But wheels vanishing, defeat. Her superiority soured to terror. She stared at her partner, futilely arguing with the tow driver, realizing, not a fragile widow, placable, a calculated tide eroding their anchors one by one. Dread crested that evening surely in a budget motel or borrowed guest room. Richard thundering lawsuits, Vanessa sharper, reassessing. You said it was locked down. Should have filed the eval faster. Loss dated not to birthday, but last month's motion. He supplied my arsenal, exposing the game. Existence I played. Late that night, Lydia's phone rang, Claire hysterical. Mom's lost it. Dad says Lydia's pulling strings, left him homeless, broke. We must act. He's Dad. Lydia cool. Where were you when he trotted out Vanessa on Mom's birthday, shaming her? Claire stuttered family pleas. I took the phone. Claire, he'll manage. First self-reliance in 47 years. Hang up, slept soundly, untroubled, knew unfinished. Dread breeds recklessness. They'd storm barriers, launch grimiest assault. Prepared, but life reclaimed meant no barricades. Third day post-meeting, I drove to the farmer's market for tomatoes and honey. Lydia offered. I declined. My roads, my routine, no cowering. Bought heirlooms, a wildflower bouquet, fresh chèvre. Simple, essential. They waited at the exit. Beat-up loaner car screeched to curb. Richard erupted out. Vanessa followed, eyes flinty. Haggard. Him in wrinkled party shirt, stubbled. Her makeup smudged, fear masked as fury. Path blocked. Maggie, he growled, plea under wrath. Talk, you can't. I regarded them, bags in arms, detached observer, not prey, like appraising flawed prototypes. Everything cut off. Survival? 47 years, tossed like yesterday's news? Onlookers glanced, shrugged off as domestic. Outburst futile, he pivoted, posture sagged, tone wheedling. Darling, remember starting out, this house from scratch, raising the girls? Means nothing? One slip levels it? Kids, grandkids, what say? Hunting vintage Margaret, accommodator, martyr. But she'd vanished, slain by his court filing. Vanessa stepped up. Margaret, hate me all you want, but my kids, Ethan's job hunting, Noah's engagement, Brooke's grad school, their lives, his blood, deserve backing. Compassion? Guilt gambit, blameless victims, bet on my softness. I absorbed the deluge, ire, sentiment, sham. Faces desperate, I felt void. No victory, no sympathy, lucid steel. Quiet descended, market chatter, birdsong distant, life proceeded. Gaze shifted, Vanessa to Richard, probed deep, bearing cowardice, corrosion. Whispered, whose brainstorm, the capacity challenge? Query, not volley, but whip crack. Faces ashen, mouths agape. Richard paled, staggered as if struck. Vanessa rigid, terror-wide eyes. Facades crumbled, pilferers exposed. Partnership fissured, stares accused. Your leak? Deceit-forged tie snapped. No linger for response, inscribed in visages. Sidestepped them like market stalls, headed carward. No rear view, their hush roared after. Desperation morphed to slyness. 2 days later, Claire called, tearful. Mom, please, Dad's wrecked, anything to converse. Cousin Lee, Aunt Faye here, concerned. Family sit down at mine, rational. Snare, victim tableau, me deranged, Lydia schemer, kin jury, malleable. Okay, Claire, Lydia and I come. Time? Relief blind to purpose, not truce, finale. Arrived Claire's townhouse at 6, warmth absent, air thick. Den, relatives arrayed, Richard's cousin Lee, my Aunt Faye, others. Eyes uneasy, inquisitive. Richard and Vanessa core, him bowed, tragic, her dabbing eyes, consoling touch. Narrative spun, RQ. Lydia and I sat facing. I placed purse down silently. Richard opened, head low, voice cracked. Margaret, kin, catastrophe bruise. With my wife, our matriarch. She's shifted, forgetful, distrustful, choices irrational, not her, affliction. Eyed me, mock empathy. Vanessa. We denied at first, sought help, she rejects, suspicion mounts. Dagger glance Lydia. Lydia exploits, turns mom against kin, freezes, rekeys, her schemes, isolates, dominates. We dread, aid before doom. Helpless facade. Room mute, gazes on us. Faye pitying, Lee perplexed, Claire floor staring, guilty, awaiting retort, weeping. My silence, eyed Lydia, she grasped, no shout, no defense, pulled folder from purse, thumped table, slap resonant. Here, Lydia steady, motion dad lodged last month, incapacitate mom, notes garden murmurs, recipe mix-ups. Unfolded, kin strained, Lee grabbed page, brow furrowing, past Faye. Richard surged, fabrication, worry prompted. Settle, Dad, Lydia frosted, more. Drew recorder from purse, suspicion, exploitation, judge. Button pressed, Richard's voice, tinny, unmistakable. Vanessa, hammer the keys daily hunts, and herbs confuses basil time. Textbook, they'll bite. Break, no overkill, steady drip. Say she gardens hours, flower chats, unmoored, details clinch breakdown. Lee's eyes rose from Doc, loathing for rot. Lydia advanced tape. Vanessa, certain? Richard, months tops, all ours. Worn keystones cracking, time to quarry. Recorder silenced, ensuing quiet deadlier than outburst. Waited, ear-ringing, even mantel clock stalled. Lee stood first, flung papers, eyed Richard, disdain arctic. No kin of mine. Arm in phase, wordless exit. Faye quaking, removed specs, tears. Forgive me, Margaret, murmured, trailed. Their realm didn't splinter, vaporized, cinders in seconds, audio's burden crushing, isolated amid fraud's wreckage. Claire huddled, face in palms, sobbing. Lydia and I rose, purse retrieved, no speech, pivoted, departed, shame lingering. Emerged into dusk breeze, door snicked, history sealed. No hindsight, strode to car, entered, Lydia ignited, drove Charlottesville's twilight, silence, not fraught, cathartic. Malady's fever shattered, frailty, clarity remained. No more entreaties from Richard, Claire, no rescuers. Deception's edifice toppled, we severed. 6 months on, my new loft overlooks the James River, 14th floor. South windows capture sunsets, gilding bridges and spires. No cluttered heirlooms of past burdens. Pale walls, open shelving, endless space. Sold the house swiftly, regret-free. Buyers, young family, loved the pond. Such character, they noted. True, soulful, just fatigued from underpinning, ready to soar. Sale, emancipation, freed weighted opus, restarted. Days solely mine. Thursdays, watercolor classes at the community studio. Love wet on wet flow, pigment blooming unbidden. No perfection chase. Let hues merge, forms emerge from chaos. Healing, take a blank canvas, birth something vital. Recently attended a chamber concert downtown, sat in plush seats as strings wove Bach. Once dreamed designing acoustically perfect venues. Untrod road evoked no lament. Thanks instead, here as appreciator, unbound by labels. Melodies weave, sufficient. Lydia visits often, post-shift herbal teas, chat books, exhibits, her subway mishap, face unshadowed, sees my steadiness. Brought a windowsill orchid, your mini garden, blooms delicate, scenting air. Seldom echoes of that life. Richard in cheap rental near Lynchburg. Vanessa fled with kids. Loan pleas denied. Heard impassive like overseas briefs. Figures from shelved volume. Vengeance devours. I choose existence. This dawn rose early, light bathed the river in amber, brewed coffee, balcony perch, watch city rise, barges glide, pedestrians hasten, narratives unfolding, 47 years foundation, unseen brace, endured loads, gales, assumed fate, mistaken, foundation mere element, I'm structure whole, with levels, sunlit panes, self-roof, erecting mine at last, sipped brew, air crisp, day fresh, no duties, arrears, quiet. Therein I heard myself. At 70, journey launches.